Hi, my name is Maciej Zasada. I'm the Technical Director at UNIT9. Welcome to Campari Fellini Forward, an incredible story of a collaboration between humans and artificial intelligence.
Campari, pushing the boundaries of art since 1860, presents a new artistic challenge: the creation of an original short film inspired by one of the greatest filmmakers of all time.
Do you guys think this thing is even possible? It's a really significant piece of work that we set out to achieve.
Dell'uomo dei sogni, quello che è riuscito a mettere l'onirico, a fermare l'onirico sulla pellicola.
Fellini Forward.
You can imagine it to be a mentor next to you and talking to you. It's a crazy thing, and it's possible.
The story of a pioneering collaboration between human and artificial intelligence.
So, I'm sure you guys know Federico Fellini, an Italian Oscar-winning film director well known for his distinctive filmmaking methods, superimposing dreamlike imagery with the ordinary. Campari actually worked with the maestro himself in 1984 on one of his very few brand collaborations. They wanted to continue and celebrate his legacy by engaging on a completely new project that blended the creativity in the film industry with cutting-edge technology. Basically, the idea was to create a new short film infused with the essence of the Italian film director. Right from the beginning, we focused on a collaborative approach, one where the AI and humans work together. We didn't want to overpromise or fake it and say that we will create an AI which just magically generates the new short film on its own. That's not how technology works. It's just not feasible, at least at the moment. So what we wanted to do instead is we engaged on a journey to create a set of AI-powered tools which will help at every single stage of the filmmaking process. We started with a script writing tool whose idea was essentially to help the scriptwriter generate both original new script infused with the essence of Fellini, but also to correct and help the scriptwriter himself in making suggestions for the selection of words, for example, based on Fellini's past works. Next, which is also helpful to understand, unfortunately, when we were pretty advanced in the process of developing the tools for this project, COVID struck, and our filmmaking process was just essentially put on hold. We couldn't get on the street, we couldn't get the filmmaking crew there, everything was closed, transportation was pretty much non-existent. So we had a pretty big problem, and we had to think how we can also optimize the filmmaking process for when things start opening up. How to minimize the time the crew actually has to spend on the streets. So one thing which came extremely helpful, and actually is one of my favorite parts of this project, is the PreVisualization Tool. The idea for it was that it's going to be an Unreal Engine tool which lets you just pre-visualize and see everything before you actually shoot it. So it's like it produces the film in real time. It's not the final film, obviously. It's quite, dry in terms of the visuals, but it gives you the idea of like the actors, the actions, the camera motions. You just see a very, basic version of the film before it's even made. And it's all done in real time, which is just incredible. An interesting fact, and another way in which the humans and AI collaborated on this project, is to know that throughout the whole process, Fellini's niece, Francesca Fabri Fellini, and some of the members of his original crew, including camera operator Blasco Girato, set designer Dante Ferretti, and costume director Luigi Piccolo, were consulted to provide key insights into Fellini's work, but also to validate that the AI suggestions are truly Fellinesque. All right, so I know this is what some of you have waited for. So let's do a bit of a tech deep dive. Starting with the script writing tool, let me tell you a bit what it was actually made of and how it worked. So we used the GPT-2 AI model, which is essentially like a text generation model, and we retrained it on Fellini's scripts. So we took the scripts from his actual movies, we've put it through the AI model, we retrained it. So when I say retrain, the important thing to understand is that AI normally just needs immense amount of data to actually start working properly. So the GPT-2 model is already trained on just, a lot of text, a lot of articles. And when I say a lot, it's like really, millions of pages. But by doing that, it already understands a lot of constructs in written language. It knows how to create text which actually makes sense, both in terms of the linguistics as well as the semantics. But you can also take an existing AI model, and that goes for other areas of machine learning like computer vision as well. And you can retrain them, so you don't like erase the whole training. You don't start from scratch. You basically take all the knowledge. It's like you've got a person who already knows how to count. Now you teach them to multiply. Like the knowledge already is very important. It would be quite difficult to learn how to multiply without knowing how to count. But it's new knowledge. It's just based on some of the prior experience. So we did the same thing with GPT-2, and we retrained it on Fellini's scripts, on the scripts from his movies, so that it was actually learning to know not only how to phrase the main script and the dialogues, but the tool actually has learned to propose character names from Fellini's works, or based on his previous works, as well as actions and the parentheticals, which are really important in film writing. So that really created a companion tool for the scriptwriter humans to, first of all, just get original script, which was already Fellinesque to an extent, and then also validate their own suggestions. So it was a collaborative process between the AI and the humans, where the AI was writing a bit of script and the humans were, continuing. The AI was correcting them, saying, for example, that Fellini would never use this word, like maybe consider that instead, and the human could accept or reject that suggestion. But also based on the human overtaking at some point, like maybe wanting to steer the action slightly to a bit of a different direction, the AI would then continue because it understood the whole chronology of actions, the whole history of what's prior to those events. And it could also use the knowledge of Fellini's work, which it was trained on, to propose what follows next. That's a truly incredible process, which I think we were all just completely astonished by. And it really worked. So in case you may ask, yes, there is a GPT-3 model, which is a much kind of newer and even more robust version of the older GPT-2. However, most of the technical production of this project actually happened, again, prior to COVID in 2020. So GPT-3 wasn't yet publicly available at that time. However, GPT-2 was already almost human-like, so we didn't feel like it impacted the project in any negative way. All right, so let's now talk a bit about the PreVisualization tool, which I personally find even more exciting and interesting. Just to recap what it was actually doing is it was basically taking the script knowledge. So we created the script first, obviously, and then normally the film would be put together in Unreal Engine in a manual way to pre-visualize it. I mean, normally it's like probably not what all companies do, but we found it really essential given the COVID situation and inability to spend enough time on the streets shooting the film, for example. It's just, a cool thing to do as well. So that tool was sitting actually as a plugin in Unreal Engine, and it was designing automatically all the camera shots. So starting from the shot type, like is it a wide shot, is it a close-up, for example, through like the shot durations, the angles. And that's actually quite interesting, like how it was doing it, how it knew what shot type to use. So let me explain how it all worked, at least in essence. So naturally, as any AI-powered tool, it has to gain the knowledge first. So it had to analyze a lot of Fellini films, looking for certain patterns and characteristics. So we trained an AI which was looking at a lot of data sets in parallel, trying to find sort of matching patterns and logic behind it. So obviously, it was looking at the script. So for each film it was analyzing, it had the underlying script. It is really important to understand that the script was also pre-analyzed for semantics. So we knew exactly which word represents a name, which word represents a location, which word is an action, and like which part of the script is a dialogue. And with that knowledge in mind, the AI was also looking at another set of data, which is the visual. And that's incredibly interesting because you can get so much from the visuals. It looked at the color palette. It looked at the motion vector. So it was actually analyzing the optical flow of the image. And it was understanding how the camera moves or if it moves within the scene. I can tell you this was an incredibly difficult challenge because you've got a lot of motion in the film shot. You've got the trees waving in the wind. You've got actors moving. You've got cars passing by. There's just a lot of motion happening. But like, how can you get the system to actually understand if it's the camera moving or if it's the environment moving? So that was extremely difficult. And actually our team got it really, really precise and right. So that was another set of data which it was looking at. So besides the script, actions, locations, names of factors, it was also looking at where the camera is moving within the shots. Also by analyzing the optical flow as well as the contents of the image, it could understand where the cuts happen. So compared to the script, it could understand like what part of it is a continuous shot, like what's the duration of the shot, and where does the cut happen, when do we switch to a different shot. And yet another thing which we looked at was also visually, because what the script tells you is, you know, you've got the actors, you've got the location, you've got what's happening, but we were also, you know, juxtaposing this with what's seen on the screen with regards to like how many people there are. So we used facial recognition to track the actors throughout the scenes. And we actually went further as well by analyzing their facial expressions. So having all this data together, and probably even more, like there's actually been a ton of data which was being analyzed from the visual films. We then created an AI which just digested all that. It was quite a lot of data, a lot of films. Just like if you consider that a film is shot at 24 frames per second, or close to that, then it's just a ton of images, a ton of sequences, a ton of data, like all the scripts to analyze. So it gained a very good knowledge of the patterns and essentially the Fellini's style in a way. That was the AI Fellini himself. You can think about it that way. So what happened then is, now in sort of fast forward to the time when we already have the new original script created for this new short film. The new AI, the pre-visualization tool AI, was ingesting the script, and it was also ingesting the Unreal Engine mockup, and it was trying to determine, based on the script, based on the actions, the number of people, the location, the color palette, what shot type to actually use, like when to make a cut, like how long should the shot be, what angle should it be, should the camera move sideways, should it be static, should it zoom in, and that was just an incredible process to watch, because from pretty much just like a 3D mock-up of the environment based on the script, we now suddenly got an AI cameraman who was just moving the camera, making shots and making the decisions on their own in Unreal Engine at real time. It was just magic to watch, and I just really regret that we don't have the ability to show you too many behind the scenes clips and footage, but that was a truly incredible moment to see. So I'm sure you see there has been a ton of work which has gone into this project. And I am extremely happy that besides this beautiful, unique short film which captures the essence of Fellini, there's also something more. We've got a documentary directed by ZCDC, which is available on Amazon Prime Video. And it captures the whole story of the project from the very beginning, from its initial conception, all the way to the final output. This documentary is also features commentary from leading experts in the field. Both the documentary and the short film were shot over 2 weeks in Rome, and they really capture the essence of Fellini, the maestro himself. Fellini Forward attracted significant press interest, and it also gained very high praise when the short film premiered at the 78th Venice Film Festival, followed by the documentary premiering at the 59th New York Film Festival, and then its general release on Amazon Prime Video in the USA, UK, Germany, Italy, and Australia. This whole project shows a beautiful story of a collaboration between the machine and human. It shows how the emotional and data-driven can beautifully work in tandem to create a new piece of art. It also sparked a lot of conversations about the role of AI in the filmmaking in the future. Thank you for having me today, and I hope to see you in person next time.